Hi, in today's video, we talk about target group analysis. Very often we have a vague idea who our target group is, but then when it comes to taking hands-on action, like for instance, deciding who to advertise to on LinkedIn or on Instagram, then I often see that there is a big gap between this vague idea and then the next actionable steps. Knowing your target group is one of the most important things in marketing and one of the steps that you should be taking as early as possible to define your target group. But why am I telling you this? You've been searching for this video yourself. So let's dive straight into the video. So at the end of this video, you will know where to find information about your target audience, how to use those information, and also how to use different methods to turn those information into an actionable plan. And really briefly, who am I? I am Dr. Stephanie Ginster. I have a PhD in molecular medicine and skin cancer research. And I used to work in marketing for biotech and cancer diagnostics companies. And now I am a healthcare marketing consultant. So feel free to follow along and let's dive right into the video. So when defining your target audience, there are actually two pillars that you need to consider. The first pillar you might not really have thought about, but what are your requirements for a target audience? For instance, how much income do they have in order to pay for your product? And the second pillar is, which problems are you solving, or whose problems are you solving? What are your target audience's pain points and how can you help with those? So let's dive into the first pillar. I already mentioned income. This is quite an important factor. Oh my gosh, it's so loud outside. I hope you don't hear it. I already mentioned income as an important factor. Your product has a certain price and people need to be able to pay. And also the willingness to pay. There are some people who just don't think that certain products are worth it, even though they might be able to pay. And also accessibility. When it comes to audiences, maybe you want to sell something to extremely privileged people who live in their own sort of community that is very hard to access. Or maybe you are trying to sell to people who are not really familiar with the internet, speaking of some older people. And then you might have to find different ways to get in touch with them, to make them aware that your product exists. And this can sometimes be very time consuming. So make sure that you have an audience that can afford your product, either by paying for themselves or by, in the healthcare market, paying through insurances. An audience that has the willingness to pay, and also an audience that is easily accessible. And also that doesn't cost you a fortune of money by only using print media to make them aware that you exist. But this is only one example. And the other thing is actually understanding the pain points of your target audience and understanding whose problems are you solving. And there you can look at the usual suspects like demographics, psychographics, so what are their beliefs, what are their moral values, etc. And actually there's this great knowledge gap table that I'm blending in right now, and it is so helpful to become aware of what you don't know about your target audience yet. And this is going to help you very much in the next steps to look strategically at your different knowledge gaps, decide whether or not those gaps are important. They might not be important, but there's a conscious decision and a clear decision that you need to make. And in the next steps, we are going to strategically fill those knowledge gaps so that in the end you have a clear picture. Now let's gather data. In filling those knowledge gaps, we are going from very broad, unspecific data to very specific data to one person. But first, we want to get a broad overview over your target audience in general. And there are great data available that are publicly available. There are, for instance, platforms like Statista that are giving many data out for free. Or if you're really relying on those data, you can also purchase one of their plans and then you can get even more insights. But I think the free version is already a very good start. And then also, of course, from your government. There are usually data available. And let's not forget about ChatGPT. We all know that AI can sometimes make information up or hallucinate, so we need to be mindful of this. But I think if you are asking ChatGPT or any other AI platform a question and then ask them to provide links, this way you can decide for yourselves whether those are good information or not. And in my business plan, I used ChatGPT heavily to get most information. And it would have taken me at least 10 times as long to find out those information without using ChatGPT. Let's use it with a grain of salt, but let's use it. And now we have gathered already all of the data that are just publicly available. In the next step, I would discuss some of those data with experts. And with experts, I don't mean people that you pay. I mean people that are on LinkedIn and that are experts in the fields that you are trying to target. And very often, when you just ask very politely that you would like to have a virtual coffee with people, or also like an old school in-person coffee with people, this can be so helpful. So after analyzing those broad data, you go and ask a lot of people in the field that you are trying to enter whether they would like to have a quick chat and discuss your conclusions with you. Based on this knowledge, you can then also create surveys. You can also even create market researches if you have the budget for this. Surveys you can, for instance, distribute in your network and ask people to fill it out because it only takes 2 minutes. Or you can also post your surveys in LinkedIn groups. The goal of those surveys is to get a clearer understanding of whether you interpreted the data right. You already have the expert's opinion, so you can get even closer to the truth. And then in a final step, you do some one-on-one interviews with those people that are really your target audience. Hopefully they will do it for free, but if they are not doing it for free, you might also want to pay them a few dollars or euros in order to clearly understand whether you have been right. In the end of the day, understanding your target group well enough from beginning on is going to be a lot cheaper than testing and wasting your time and your money and your energy, because those are so much more expensive than the money you're going to pay for those one-on-one interviews. What you can also do if you don't have money to pay is to offer people a free trial. Sometimes this is legally allowed, sometimes this is not legally allowed. So obviously consult a lawyer first before you're doing those things. Generally, nothing of what I'm saying here is legal advice. So always take what I'm saying with a grain of salt. So what do you want to discuss in those one-on-one interviews? In the end of the day, it really depends what your question is. So it might be that you already have a final product that you can show the target audience and just let them test it out and see whether they like it or not, asking open-ended questions. But ultimately, what you're trying to answer is whether the people you are targeting are going to benefit enough from your product to be willing to buy it. This is the most important question. The sub-questions that you are asking will be determined by the process that you are going through and the answers and the data that you have been given. So now you have a pretty good idea who your target audience is and whether they are willing to buy your product and pay for your product. And now be careful, because there are a lot of people out there who will sell those insights to you with a lot more confidence than they deserve. Because let's speak in science terms. Right now, you have done a screening. We still need to verify those assumptions. And I will show you a great way to verify those assumptions while already getting reach, while already creating some buzz around your product. But I'm realizing this video has already been going on for quite long. So let's stop this video here and do those testing of the assumptions in the next video. But please, before you go, one moment. I have just started this business 3 weeks ago at the time that I'm recording this. So it would be so helpful if you gave this video a little boost, liked the video and subscribed already. Well, you need to subscribe for part 2, but also it would just mean the world for me if this channel would get a little boost and would get the business going. So thanks a lot, and maybe comment down below whether this video was helpful, whether you still have additional questions, which questions do you have, and I am very happy to answer them. So see you soon. Bye.